Cheers.
Could you tell us how you ended up at Celtic? How that sort of came about at the start of your career?
Just obviously through the usual channels, playing for my school, playing for I actually played for a team called the 90 Boys Club before that, which was a good team, and Morris Jones and guys like that played for that season. So once I came about 14, I realised that I never wanted to play football on a Saturday because I didn't like listening to watch Celtic. So I realised, my father said, look, if you want to make it in football, you need to go and play on a Saturday. So I played for Celtic Boys Club, which is another story. And I'm not one of the guys that's trying to get money. I certainly was questioned by the police, I can tell you that. But no, I went to Celtic, and regardless of what Celtic say, I can tell you it was a feeder team for Celtic. So that's what happened. I just progressed for there and the Celtic reserve team. And at that time, you were exposed early doors to playing against men, and I think that was obviously something that Scottish football back then knew, that kids only getting playing with men until they were about 22 and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Was it Billy McNeil that was your manager when you were there?
Billy McNeil was the manager, and I was lucky that he actually signed me. So I always had a wee head start on some of the other guys. So it was a bit of a blow to me when he left, because I kind of got a couple of games while he was the manager.
What was the dressing room like at the time? Like what kind of players were there when you were kind of coming through?
Danny McVeigh, Mulder McLeod, George McCluskey, Roy Aitken. It was a strong. See, in days, it was like first team dressing room, second team dressing room. You only get in the first team dressing room if you chap the door. You cleaned the boots. You done all the hard graft really to try and get in that dressing room. That was the idea of that, which is something again that's totally without the game. If young players aren't allowed to clean boots and stuff like that.
So obviously you played you played football under some incredible managers, obviously Brian Clough being one of them. Brian Clough and Jim McLean, you worked with them, two polarising figures to say the least. You said we're not honest, right? So first of all, how did that move kind of come about? How did that come to fruition?
Well, actually I was on loan to Dundee from Celtic, and I did a decent spell, and I think Celtic at the time were quite happy for me to leave, but because I had a decent spell here, they were a wee bit embarrassed of me trying to keep me. But I knew that I didn't have any future there, so at the time Dundee United had come in for me. I would rather have signed for Dundee, to be honest, at the time, because I had played there, if you know what I mean. I wasn't one to rock the boat.
I'm holding against you.
So luckily enough, I got a phone call to say that Nottingham Forest had been watching me whilst I was at Dundee, and they put a bid in for me, which was 10,000 less than, I think it's 30,000 or something. And United had offered 40,000, but Celtic sold me for 30,000. Basically said that they would rather I went to England at the roads. And Clough had never seen me play. So my first thing was I went to Australia at the end of the season in a 3-week trip with the players, and Clough never went. And it was the longest 3 weeks of my life. I've never seen guys drink like it in my life. It was like a drink culture that I'd never seen before. I mean, guys that I'd watched, they only won the European Cup 2 years previous to that. And these guys that I'd watched on the telly, they're all brilliant guys, really down to earth. But every night was drink, even the night before a game, because we played 4 or 5 games against the Australian national team. We played Man United in Melbourne in the cricket ground, and even the night before that game, sitting in a pub watching Frank Wellington. He was guesting for Man United. Remember Frank Wellington?
Yeah, sure.
And oh my God, I've never seen Frank like it in my life. And then they still got out to play the next day. So that was my introduction to Forest, and then obviously come back, had a holiday, and then back into the new season, and had to try and impress a manager that had never seen me play before, which was quite tough. And for anybody that doesn't know Brian Clough, I was totally overawed by the man, just because he was always in Parkinson and programmes like that, and he, as soon as you seen him, you were terrified. I met him for the first time the last game of the season. Forest were playing Man United, and I'd been flown into Nottingham, East Midlands, at lunchtime. I went to a hotel in Derby where the team were going to be having a sleep in the afternoon for a Friday night game. So get taken into the hotel. He was sitting at the bar, where he was always at the bar. Taken up to meet him, shook his hand. He says, what would you like to drink, young man? And I said, can I have a Coke, please? He says, are you a fucking poof? And I had to have a beer. He then took me through to see the players who were sitting having a lunch, and what I noticed was there might have been 5 tables, and every table had a bottle of wine on it. He then proceeded to tell me, I like the players to have a glass of wine before they go to bed because they'll sleep better this afternoon. They would have beat Man United 1-0.
What was he like? We'll naturally compare him to Jim McLean, but what was he like in comparison to Jim McLean as a manager?
As football people, they were quite similar, to be honest. The same ideas of the game, but one was an alcoholic and one was a teetotaler. And that's the truth. I mean, they reckon he was a bottle of whiskey a day, Brian Clough. And even when we went trips in Europe, I was always on my own, so I was always buying his duty free. So, but he was a frightening guy, but also a kind guy. And his style of management was, if you were playing well, he would hammer you. If you were struggling, he would pick you up. But I had a lot of time for him. I was staying in a hotel in Nottingham, and he took me to his house for Christmas dinner. I just thought that was really nice, a man of that stature taking me to a hotel to go and spend the day with his family. Do you know what I mean? So there was a lot said about him, but he was a unique man. A simple football man, to be honest. The way he wanted the game played, he just used to say, pass the ball to a guy with the same colour of jersey as you, and there's a good start. And very simple, but I mean, I thought he was a genius, to be honest. I just felt any man that could win two European Cups with, you know, a team like Nottingham Forest, and even I think he took Derby County to a semi-final of a European Cup. It was something else, but he just, his man management had to be seen to be believed. The way, because he was an alcoholic, the press always would offer me money to say he was an alcoholic, please, you know, because none of them could get their own side of him because he was such a big character, and they needed him for their jobs. So they were always looking for somebody else. As soon as a player left the club, they would offer them £5,000, go and do a story and say he's an alcoholic. But what I quickly realised is that he always had something in every player. and this is true, right? I mean, a lot of people don't believe this. In my first pre-season, we went to Holland, and we were playing a pre-season friendly the next night, but we were sitting having a dinner at night, and he says to the captain, the guy called Dean Boyle, he says, "Captain, tell the lads to meet at 8 o'clock down the stairs, we're going to go out in the bus." So the boys were all kind of sitting saying, well, look, we'd rather have a few pints here than go somewhere. So he's kind of relayed the message back to the manager. He says, look, it's not an option, be in the bus at 8 o'clock. He proceeded to take us to a high-class brothel. You know, if you've all been to Holland, you know what I'm talking about, one of these high-class nightclubs or whatever it was, and you walk in, the topless woman comes out, puts her arm around you, he's quickly telling you no money, and then they leave you alone, which we had a lot of new players, right, and I was only young player, I wasn't married or anything like that, and I was kind of wondering what's going on, but also kind of taken aback by the fact that what we're doing in here. So I remember going down and looking at this place down the stair, it's water beds and jacuzzis and baths and all sorts. And I remember coming back up the stairs and shouting to the captain, boy, you should see it down there, what a place this is. And Clough's sitting at the end of the bar, and excuse my language here, but this is true. He says, is it, young man? I says, yeah. Oh, it's what a place. He went, well, we're here to fuck. And he said to the secretary, and this is, honest to God, he said to the secretary, give the lads money for a fuck. So the secretary pulls on his, what was guilders in the days, honestly, hundreds of guilders. But see, the only players that went was the new players. Because the old players knew exactly he was trying to get something on them. And he was a clever man. Did I take the guilders? No, because there's no way I would have been, you know, first in and first out. I wasn't want anybody to see that. But it's obviously stories you can't tell and normal situations. Then always remember getting back to Nottingham, as usual, somebody falls out with their wife or something like that, and I had to take that for everybody. I said, no, it was me, because I wasn't married.
I'll bring up a wee bit of period, obviously. You spent a bit of time at Coventry.
Not much time in Coventry.
Was that where you met Dave Bowman? Was he already there?
No, I played with Dave Bowman at Scotland youth teams.
Right, okay. I wasn't sure if you guys were both there at the same time.
No, we were there at the same time, because we signed for the United the same day.
That's what I was going to get to. So, what was your, let's talk about Bowman briefly, what was your first sort of introduction, what was your first impressions in cycle?
No, well, I always knew him, obviously, for our Scotland days, and we were quite pally because we had a successful Scottish youth team. We actually won the European Youth Championships in Finland, and then a year later we went to Mexico and for the World Cup. So we spent about maybe 3 or 4 weeks together in Colorado because we went to acclimatise because Mexico City's, I think it was 9,000 feet above sea level or something like that. So he was always daft, if that's what you're getting. He was always up to no good, if you know what I mean. You know, nailing shoes to floors and just stuff that he still does.
So obviously Jim McLean signed you. We've kind of touched on Brian Clough. What was it like to work under Jim McLean at United?
I was never intimidated by him as far as personality, just because I think I played for Clough. But you just have never met a man that was so intense. You know, had zero personality, but when it came to football, he was a genius. I'm not actually wanting to sit and talk about him as a person, because I don't think there's people here that think the world of him or whatever, and that's fine, and that's the way. I mean, at the end of the day, I overachieved, I punched above my weight as a footballer, and that was because of him. As a human being, that's a different thing, but as a manager, and especially a coach and a tactician, he was absolutely different class. But compared to Clough, it was just chalk and cheese. But again, when it comes to football, tactically they had the same ideas, the way they wanted the game to be played. But I'd say Lee Jim was more brutal in the way he wanted his results, and he would stop at nothing, you know, to get what he wanted, whether it would be, you know, being bad to players or whatever, you know. And there was a lot of good players fell by the wayside because they couldn't cope with his style of management. But I think I was blessed because I came from Clough that I was able to handle him, and I wanted to be able to show you know, please him, and because it was always good. See, if a top manager says to you after a game, well done, then that's what you look for. And to be honest, I had a good relationship with him as a player. It was been as a player and manager, but when he became chairman, he was horrible.
Yeah, Scotland.
Yes, you won 10 caps for Scotland, and one of which was at Euro 92. I just want to ask about what it was like being part of the Scotland certain day.
I mean, it was fantastic to be part of that, and I mean this, I never felt worthy of being there. So I was never particularly comfortable being away with Scottish teams. But that was, to be part of that actual tournament and to see like Germany, Holland, I mean it was the CIS, but they were Russia, and to see all these top international players, world class players close up, it was really good. It was really good to see the organisation of the tournament, you know, and be there. Things that you used to watch on the telly, like even in the night before we played the first game, I think England were playing Denmark, who Denmark actually won the tournament in '92, but they were playing England that night, and the organisation was brilliant. We had a place like this down the stairs, and the TV companies were up the stairs, and they had their studios, so they used to do, you know, it's like in big tournaments where there's daily shows and stuff like that, and Dennis Law was up there with Ian St John and stuff like that. So anyway, we were watching the England game, and we were watching a big screen, and we had a bookie, and like McCoy's was like the bookie, and McCoy's was the first guy to spit in the telly, you know, first guy to scratch his balls, or, you know, just sit loads of silly bets. So we're sitting watching this England game, and here it was about maybe 2 minutes to go, and the Denmark players threw in the goalie. It's 0-0, and the goalie comes out, he kind of chips it over him, and the boy's running towards the goal line, and the screens went out. Everything went blank, and we were like, what's happened here, man, for fuck's sake? Dennis Law comes running down the stairs, and he says, I'm sorry boys, I got that excited, I fucking jumped up, and I pulled all the he says, by the way, the fucking did they score? Dennis Law hated England that much that he was that excited that he jumped up and he took all the power out of the place. So it was nice to see things like that and be there, and eventually in the last game, which was the only game that we'd won, or the first time Scotland had won a game in the Euros, and I think I got 20 minutes on the pitch, which meant so much to me.
Remember who you came on for?
McCoy's?
No. Brian McClare?
Was it? I thought it was a kind of a double substitution, but anyway, I felt it was all contributed. So
yeah.
You know, I enjoyed that. It was brilliant to be part of that. As I said, I was never comfortable in amongst these guys because I always felt they were better players than me.
Let's talk about, like, I know I didn't get cheated here, right, but let's talk about 1994. That Dundee United won the Scottish Cup. Obviously there have been...
Nobody cheered.
Inside I was cheering, right, so there's a funny story about this. I was only, well, I don't know if you're old, but I was only 4 or something at the time. And I wasn't able to go. My mum's here, so she'll probably be able to laugh at that. And my dad took the bus, and he was wanting to go. So let's talk about it. Like, let's talk about the build-up and that. Obviously, in previous finals that you guys have lost, obviously, with McLean. What felt different about this particular game? Were you confident going in that?
Well, I think the whole campaign was we had just felt I think obviously I kept saying we're going to win the cup. You know, every week or every time somebody asked them, we just said, oh, their name's in the cup, it's ours. But we started against Motherwell, Arbroath, and I always remember it was a howling wind that day, and I think we were 3 up at half time, and then we were hanging on for grim death because the wind had got so bad. And then we moved on to Motherwell, and it was a terrific game that, but it was a draw. Motherwell got a late equaliser.
Stevie Cook, was it?
Aye, and we went down to Motherwell obviously for the replay, and the game was delayed because the United fans had turned up in their thousands. And I think for then on we kind of felt as though everybody had a feeling. I don't know if Ivan had convinced the whole support that we were going to do it, but you know, we just, his positivity, which only lasted a season, if you know what I mean, his positivity, but his positivity certainly helped us as far as, giving us that belief, and even getting into the final against Rangers. We'd already went down to Ibrox and beat Rangers 3-0. And I always remember that and all, because on Thursday Ivan had done a press conference and said, Rangers are finished, they're over the hill, we're a team of old men, we're going to go down there on Saturday and run over the top of them. And I went on holiday that summer and met John McGregor, who was a Rangers coach, and he said to me, he says, honestly, he says, Walter Smith, he had Walter Smith on toast, because Walter came in on the Friday with the paper in his hand, and he says, this fucking Golak again, he's fucking at it. So he puts the article up in the Rangers dressing room, fucking turn this lot of them on. We were 3 up in 18 minutes, and we won the game 3-0. So obviously, playing them in the final, we knew we could beat them, and he kind of made us believe that we could beat them, and the way the game panned out, we deserved to beat them on the day.
Yeah. Another point is, I just want to touch on that. Now, on the Friday night, you guys, was it the story that you guys went away to Hamilton races and Golak was got in Liverpool have a pint, or was that?
No, we went Friday afternoon.
Friday afternoon, right, okay.
Which was my request.
Was it?
Oh, aye. So we went there in the afternoon, and then at night we just had a meal, and if he wanted a glass of wine, he was quite happy for the glass of wine, but it was just such a laid back character. He was a good man. And I suppose if you could have put his, I don't know if it was the wacky-backy he was smoking a liver, maybe if we Jim could learn to smoke the wacky-backy. If you put Ivan's personality into wee Jim, he would have been one hell of a manager. But, you know, I think at the end of the day, he was found out a wee bit the next season with his, you know.
What goals scored, I can see that following season. So, Brewster's goal goes in. What's your immediate thoughts when that goes in? Obviously, Daly hits the post, Brewster scores. What's your thoughts on the park at that point?
No, it's just joy. I mean, it's just joy, and then and to be fair, we never went back into a shell or anything like that. We kept playing.
Kept going,
and it was. I mean, I think there was only 2 minutes added on after the 90 minutes or something like that, which was a godsend. But we should have had a Stonewall penalty in the first half, which we never got. I mean, that was another shocking decision that went against us. But you know, it was just our day, and we already having lost three cup finals. For me, Bo and Morris, it was just unbelievable.
You say that was like the highlight of your career, one of the top ones at club level?
That in Barcelona.
Oh, I was going to say, one of the quick spoken about that, when I get to that as well.
That in Barcelona, it's, you know, it's close between the two of them, because again, you never Barcelona was just something else.
Just while we're on Barcelona, what was that experience like? 2 legs and beating them obviously in the cup. What was that experience like? What was the build-up like? Were you guys obviously like a bunch of local guys in that team as well? confident in your ability to go over these giants in Spain and done them over? What was the...
No, I mean, I think then you were, because I mean, it was only about 2 or 3 years before United had been in the semi-finals of the European Cup, before I was there. But I think when you looked about you, and, you know, you just look at players like David Deliquent and Paul Sturrock and Eamon Bannon and Paul Hegarty and Maurice Malpass, you knew that you were in amongst good players. The big thing about that game was the fact that obviously Lineker and Hughes played for Barcelona, Terry Venables was the manager, so it was a big, for the English point of view, there was a lot of interest in the game, especially for the pundits down south and stuff like that. So no, we went into the game we did believe we could win it, and that's where McLean tactically always came into his own in games like that, where he knew the opposition inside out, and he did give us a wee bit of belief in these games. You know, it was so it was special. It was special, and we went over there for the replay, for the second game, sorry, and they were soaking the pitch before the game, obviously thinking it was going to suit them. But when you looked at some of the players, it was just brilliant, and Paul Sturrock was just fantastic that night. And when we equalised, it was, again, that's what I mean, when you talk about the best feeling, I think when that equaliser went in on the night, it was just a wonderful feeling. And then actually to score a winner and know that you'd beaten them was just something special.
I bet it was some sash off for that, I take it, was it?
No. That's where Jim played, didn't they? I think we were playing, I don't know who we were playing on the Saturday. I know we had a Scottish Cup replay to come against Forfar, but I always tell this story. I was rooming with John Holt, and John Holt was man of the match that night, and we were back to the hotel, had something to eat, up the stairs, and John Holt says to me, I'm thinking he got to Forfar. And I was like, you've just been man of the match against Barcelona, what do you want to play for? And he says, the wee man says I can speak to him, and I'm thinking, and I'll not go anywhere, but I mean, that's where Jim McLean let himself down, was the fact that he kept players doing it at a place where he didn't want them to think they were any better. And Holty was, you know, would have been prepared to go to Forfar just because he was getting a car or something like that, you know, rather than. So that was what we done. We never had any sessions after the game and anything like that. We were very professional. It wasn't like Forest.
No, I think it was enough Forest. We're going to throw a couple of questions to the folk in the audience as well. So if anyone does want a quick ask Jim a quick question, please throw your hand up. Cox.
Best player played against?
Dalglish probably, but I played against. But Dalglish, I played against that Liverpool team when I was at Forest with Dalglish and Rush up front, and he was a bit special, Dalglish, and he was always a bit of a hero. And we were, it was 0-0 against Liverpool at Anfield. They get the annual penalty in the 90th minute, and John Watt was away to take it, and I'm standing there, and the police comes up at my side, and he says, "Don't worry, wee man, he'll miss it." John Watt was in the top corner, he went, "Only kidding, wee man."
Anybody else got any questions? Aye. But apart from Brewfest in the corner,
Surprised you remember me. When Barcelona scored in the second leg, what was your thoughts? Obviously when they technically equalised, wasn't it?
Well,
at that point?
it was obviously just before half time,
Yeah.
and you just think, well, we've had a really good first half here, and you just worried that, well, you know, that we would maybe cave in or something like that. But I think probably half time came at the right time for us, and we just kind of regrouped. And to be fair, that was one of Jim McLean's best half times, if you know what I mean, where he never had a go at anybody. He actually came in and said we were doing well, keep playing, you know, and you will score, you'll get a chance at some point. So so he gave us that belief to go and see, that was when you get back to Jim McLean, he used to lambast you at times, and that could knock you down, but that day, or that night especially, he was far from it. He was really good, and that gave us the belief to get in the second half and keep playing.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Eddie Lafferty. I am the the commercial manager for Dundee North End. I'm the dude that makes these events happen, and I would like to thank each and every one of you for coming along tonight for such a fantastic event. So, Jim, how we doing?
Good mate.
Yeah. Jim, I remember when you played for Celtic and you signed for the New Loan, and you scored the goal at Tynecastle.
Come on, easy now. Easy now.
You scored the goal at Tynecastle?
Yeah, the goal that kept us up.
Yeah. So, how many bloody fans are here tonight?
Right.
Fucking hell. How many bloody fans are here tonight?
Oh dear.
Three bloody fans and one bloody fan. Holy fucking shit. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the North End. This is a fantastic opportunity to raise some money for Alzheimer's. Yeah? David has put his hats up there, and from Dundee North End, we would like to thank every one of you for coming here tonight. So, Jim, can what? Right, and go the fuck out. How you feel the heart, and go the fucking boogie on the 6th end. See when you scored that goal at Tynecastle, right? How many fucking years ago? You were my hero. See when you signed for Dundee United. You are still my fucking hero because Dundee United really. However, and I'll tell you a story, now. Jim McInally played for Dundee, he played for United. After the his United career, he played for Dundee, and he won the league winners medal. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, he's played for the two clubs in the city. He's played for Dundee United against Barcelona and the beat-up. And he played for Dundee against Rovers. And he fucking won a league titles medal. Ladies and gentlemen, Jim McInally! Ladies and gentlemen, you're laughing at who is the commercial manager for North End. He's coming us this tonight as well, and he's a hell of a guy. So, right, Jim, we're going to play Winner Stays On. I hope you don't mind. We're going to go through this rapidly because you've got a Chinese and Indian to go pick up, haven't you? Yeah. Food, considering that you want the fuck earlier on. Right, we're going to go through these, right? So, well, I'm going to give you two fucking hilarious that these two are here. I'm not being disrespectful, but we're going to go for Stuart Pearce or Stephen Tweed. Stuart Pearce. Stuart Pearce or Maurice Malpas?
Maurice Malpas.
Maurice Malpas or Stephen Presley?
Maurice Malpas.
Maurice Malpas or Duncan Ferguson?
Maurice Malpas.
Maurice Malpas or Shell Olofsson?
Maurice Malpas.
Maurice Malpas or Brian McQuaid?
Morris Malpass.
Morris Malpass or Douglas?
Oh, Morris Malpass.
Morris Malpass or Andy Goro?
Morris Malpass.
Morris Malpass or Andy McLaren?
Morris Malpass, definitely.
Morris Malpass or Gary McAllister?
Malpass.
Morris Malpass or Kevin Gallagher?
Malpass.
And Morris Malpass against Mixie Patalina.
Oh, Malpass all day.
Guys, Jim McInally. Very good,
Morris Malpass or Jim McInally?